All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to demystify the dark psychology behind toxic interpersonal behaviors. We're talking about everything from those everyday fake friends who just completely drain your energy, all the way up to severe clinical personality disorders that can literally wreak havoc on your life. If you have ever felt utterly exhausted after hanging out with someone, or if you felt like you were losing your mind in an argument that you didn't even start, well, you are definitely in the right place. So, we've got to start by asking kind of a harsh question about the people closest to us. Are your friends actually your enemies? And look, I'm not talking about petty high school drama here. This is a profound psychological issue. A UCLA study actually found that fake friendships increase your anxiety by a staggering 63%. Having a toxic friend is scientifically proven to be more damaging to your mental health than just being completely alone. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the fake friend epidemic, the psychology of copycats, narcissists, and smear campaigns, passive-aggressive personalities, social media's role in Schadenfreude, and finally, how to actually protect your mental health. Okay, section 1, the fake friend epidemic. Let's talk about those toxic, transactional friendships. There is a massive difference here. Real friends, they're the ones who offer inspiration. They check in because they actually care, and they genuinely recharge your nervous system. But fake friends, well, they're entirely transactional. They really only text when they need an unpaid therapist or a favor. It's like a psychological arms race with them. When you succeed, they don't pop champagne, right? They pop your balloon. They disguise their jealousy as concern, and they use social comparison to measure their own worth simply by diminishing yours. Have you ever tried to call a friend out on something hurtful they did, and somehow, by the very end of the conversation, you were the one apologizing? Yeah, that is DARVO in action. It stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse Victim, and Offender. It's a highly effective manipulation tactic where they deny the behavior, attack your credibility, and completely flip the script. It's textbook gaslighting, and it's designed to erode your self-worth so fast that you honestly forget who actually wronged who. And your body literally registers this toxicity as a physical threat. It's not just in your head. Harvard researchers found that these toxic relationships can spike your cortisol, that's your body's primary stress hormone, by up to 50%. That is basically the biological equivalent of working a high-pressure job that you absolutely despise. If you feel like you need a vacation after grabbing coffee with a friend, that is your nervous system screaming at you. Moving on to section 2, the psychology of copycats. Let's look at what happens when envy crosses the line into full-blown obsession. We usually brush off copying as just a weird form of flattery, right? But developmentally, it's known as identity diffusion. These individuals literally lack a stable sense of who they are, what they value, or what makes them unique. So what do? They use maladaptive mirroring. This usually stems from an anxious, preoccupied attachment style where they try to absorb your identity just to feel secure. Subconsciously, they don't want to just be like you, they actually want to replace you because you are serving as the perfect emotional template for their own emptiness. All right, section 3, narcissists and smear campaigns. Let's escalate things to some truly severe clinical behavior. Psychologist Dr. Ramani actually describes a narcissistic smear campaign as large-scale gaslighting. Because when a narcissist suffers an injury to their ego, say you set a boundary or you break up with them, they will retaliate. They try to control how the rest of the world sees you by spreading false rumors and half-truths. The whole goal is to isolate you from your support network, all while protecting their own flawless facade. They play the victim perfectly. Next up, section 4, passive-aggressive personality. This is very closely related to that covert hostility. Psychologist Theodore Millon categorized this into 4 distinct types. You've got the vacillating type, whose moods are just wildly unpredictable, the discontented complainer, who constantly gripes behind this incredibly fake smile. Then there's the circuitous type. These are the ones who weaponize procrastination, deliberate dawdling, and sudden forgetfulness as quiet resistance. And lastly, the abrasive type, who is just intentionally irritable and starts arguments without a shred of remorse. It is purposeful, goal-directed aggression wrapped up in a seductive veneer. Which brings us to section 5, social media and Schadenfreude. Let's zoom out to the macro level and look at how our digital world supercharges all of this. These social platforms are basically massive, unprecedented playgrounds for both vulnerable and grandiose narcissists. They run on an economy of attention, providing this endless loop of external validation for people who lack internal self-worth. It creates an environment where toxic amusement just totally thrives. I mean, think about it. With over 1.23 billion monthly users on platforms like Facebook alone, social media creates an unchecked environment for humiliation culture. Digital anonymity strongly incentivizes aggression, turning cruelty into a literal spectator sport, where people assert dominance through public roasting. And this environment breeds something deeply primal, schadenfreude. It translates to damaged joy. It's that secret, twisted glee someone feels when they witness another person's downfall. Now, it sounds like a harmless cocktail party concept, but psychological research shows it's a hidden fuel for some serious harm. In digital spaces, it drives toxic, weight-based comparisons that trigger eating disorders, and at its darkest extreme, relishing in the suffering of others is actually a key pre-attack indicator for violent radicalization. Okay, finally, Section 6, protecting your mental health. Because at the end of the day, how do you actually defend yourself against all of this? Your absolute first line of defense is incredibly practical. Refuse to engage. Minimize your involvement. Do not react emotionally, because that is the exact supply they want. Maintain incredibly strict boundaries, even when they call you sensitive for having them. If a smear campaign is happening, quietly gather your evidence, like emails or texts, to protect yourself. And whatever you do, avoid the ego battles. You honestly don't need to prove anything to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. But here is your ultimate tool. Coined back in 2012 by mental health blogger Skylar, it's called the Gray Rock Method. This was specifically designed for dealing with narcissistic personality disorder and situations of emotional abuse where you just can't completely cut the person out of your life, like a toxic coworker or a tricky family member. Here's exactly how you do it. Step 1, act totally unresponsive. Keep your face completely neutral and your answers super short. Step 2, remain totally uninterested in whatever drama or gossip they're trying to bait you with. And step 3, negate their emotional reaction. You literally want to channel the boring, dull qualities of a gray rock sitting on the ground. You starve that toxic person of the reaction they desperately want, and eventually they just get bored and look for a new target. I really want you to remember this phrase. You're not losing friends by setting boundaries. You are losing users. Booting these psychological vampires out of your life is an absolute upgrade. Think of your emotional energy like a bank account. You've got to protect those deposits. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to apply to your own life today. Take a really hard look at your inner circle. Identify the drainers, the copycats, and the passive-aggressive critics. Ask yourself right now, who is draining your energy, and are you finally ready to cut off their supply and become a gray rock? Focus on the people who actually